You're still listening to SW20 Country Music Show. Myself, Carl Kendrick. We're here every Tuesday from 9 o'clock. And as you already hear tonight, we've got interviews every week. And I'm glad to say joining me in the virtual studio right now is a lady who has been described by the legend as Bob Harris as one of our finest singer-songwriters. And good evening, Lisa. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hello. Thanks, Carl. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
I'm looking at your bio in front of me, and this is quite a list of people who you've played with or opened for within the world of country. We've got Sarah Darling, Eve Sellis, Glenn Tilbrook, Eliza Carthy. You've also recorded live sessions for BBC Radio 2. So been on quite the journey so far.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this sort of situation we have at the moment, it gives you a little bit of a chance to reflect on all that you've done, and I mean, it's been a really interesting ride, really, and particularly when you're an independent artist, you know, bringing out your own releases and doing it all yourself. You know, you really appreciate when there's something like really exciting that happens. And I've been lucky enough. I had some lovely support from Bob Harris for all my releases and done sessions.
What was it like when you got the phone call about the BBC Radio 2 sessions? What was that? did you like keep the emotion inside until you hang up and then just like quick dance? It must have been. You know, as a country artist, to get that. I mean, Bob Harris, as a radio presenter, he is at the top of the pyramid for us. You know, so to get that phone call, say, look, you come on the show and we record a live session. That must be something else.
Oh, it really was, Carl. I mean, basically, he played a track from my very first album, Slipstream, and basically he supported all the other releases, and then to be honest, I can't remember the details of sort of being asked to go in, but I remember being incredibly excited, and then I remember because he did a Saturday night show as well, which was very much a showcase for a lot of independent artists. You know, I used to listen to it coming back from gigs. And I remember he talked about me on Dermot O'Leary was doing the show in the afternoon, and he talked about me then that I was coming up. So it was really exciting. And then I had people contacting the show, and you know, and he's been such a lovely support. You know, I've done Under the Apple Tree sessions as well, which are really, really fun.
Awesome. So where did your journey into country begin? Was it like we've had our acts on where their house was just full of country music as they're growing up? Right. What was your personal journey? How did you start into country in particular?
I suppose it was kind of sort of another way through maybe more of the like singer-songwriters of the sort of 60s, 70s, Laurel Canyon sort of songwriters like Neil Young, James Taylor, Carole King, Joni Mitchell. So it was initially much more of a sort of acoustic journey, you know, sort of singer-songwriters like that, Simon and Garfunkel as well, Cat Stevens. And then it was through, I suppose, a combination of listening to obviously Bob's show, and then also getting the CDs that came on like with Uncut, Q Magazine, Mojo. Sometimes they would do a sort of theme one. I mean, I'm sure they still do, where they'll maybe have all covers by a certain artist, you know, of a certain artist, or they'll have an Americana compilation. And basically, it was more through the old country route, really, I suppose. Bands like Wilco and Pernice Brothers, Whiskey Town, Steve Earle. I had people in my life that were very much into country as well at the time, so sort of Nancy Griffiths and Emmylou Harris, and then basically I was hooked because of the you know, the melodies, the lyrics, the storytelling, the instrumentation. So I used the first album. You know, even though I personally, you know, being an English sort of artist, singer-songwriter, the songs I didn't feel were particularly coming from, you know, country, but it was the instrumentation, and people also felt that my voice as well sounded, you know, it sort of suited really well in that style. You know, I like to sing with lots of emotion, and and basically just along the way discovered, you know, many of my favorite artists, you know, through that way, through
Excellent.
country or Americana.
So over the years, we've had, is it 3 albums, 3 main
Yeah,
lineups? You had Slipstream in 2003, Lost
yeah.
Again 2006, Clouds of Silver, which I tweeted
Oh,
recently.
thank you.
Um,
Yes, I saw
Clouds of
that.
Silver in 2008, and I found that, like I said, it sounded like a current album.
Oh,
It was a really great album to listen to.
oh,
And
thank
then
you.
June, July last year, you released your 5-track EP, Edge of Love,
Yeah, yeah.
and that single, I Just Can't Forget. Was that for the EP?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
well, basically, yeah, you're right. I did 3 albums, you know, and as I say, I'm an independent artist, so all that sort of self-financed, and yeah, I had lovely response to all of them. And then in recent years, you know, I've been doing EPs, so I've had this latest one, Age of Love, is the 3rd EP. And yeah, basically, I suppose the way that music is changing, everything's quite sort of fast, a lot more streaming, predominantly, you know, Spotify, Deezer, etc. So with that, I've had 3 singles off that, and yeah, I Just Can't Forget is the most recent one.
Right.
Real heartfelt ballad.
Something I spoke to Rachel from Scarlet River Management a couple of weeks ago was around EPs and albums, and how the music industry has changed. I remember, as I was saying, back in the 80s and 90s, you'd have an artist releasing 8 or 9 singles, and then you'd finally get an album after like a year or so. And then it's suddenly gone in, especially in commercial music, you'd have 1 single and then an album would drop the following month. And I was saying to Rachel that it seems to be now the way forward, especially with like Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music. It's easier to release a couple of singles and then an EP, because you find them that get more longevity. Whereas an album, people might listen to just 1 or 2. Well, I think probably 4 or 5 tracks, maybe of a 12-track album, where they're more likely to listen to a 5-track EP in its entirety. Do you think that's right? Do you think do you think EPs are better received than albums, or do you think they're both?
I think, yeah, I was kind of mixed feelings with bringing one out. I mean, a lot of it was because these particular songs that I've had fit really well, nicely together, you know, and I didn't feel, I mean, obviously I've had budget and things like that, you know. I mean, I do love the idea of the album, you know. I mean, many of things that you grow up to are the classic albums, aren't they? You know, sort of that listening to something from start to finish, linear. But these days, yeah, things are very much, I mean, there's still passionate music fans out there. It's not that they don't have the time, but I suppose it's the way that we you know, listen to music and stream it is very different, isn't it? And I feel, yeah, you're right, with having, you know, the other EPs, I think there were just 4 tracks. And then Edge of Love's just got 5. And yeah, I suppose it gives you a chance to, because people, you know, played other songs from the EP, not necessarily the singles. And yeah, like maybe with an album, you know, even though you feel, you know, that every track, like Clouds of Silver that you mentioned, it might not have got, you know, people listening to the 10th track or something, not because it's just, I think that's the way it is now. And yeah, definitely. I know people that are just bringing out singles, really, you know, that one, and then making that their big focus, their campaign, and then maybe an EP afterwards. And everything is just quite, yeah, it's all different, really. I think we're all just learning and sort of faster moving.
Yes, like you said, music is now much more accessible. You don't have to go to a record store or a HMV or, you know, like where you can just go online. You might hear something, someone might be playing a song. You'll go onto Spotify, and you'll search for the artist, and suddenly you've got access to the entire back catalogue, you know, which you wouldn't have had 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found a good benefit in that, in the way that even though, you know, I've been doing it myself independently for a while, it's been quite nice that, you know, I've had the previous releases, because, you know, people that may not have obviously heard of them at the time, you know, they can discover your, you know, your back catalogue. And, you know, it's been really nice because people can then, you know, if they hear anything from the recent stuff, they can sort of then investigate and listen to your previous releases. And as well as sort of Spotify and, you know, Deezer, iTunes, etc. I've got a Bandcamp store as well. And that's quite a nice way for people to, I mean, obviously it's hard sometimes for people to find you initially, you know, you need people like yourselves, you know, radio bloggers to help you, showcase you. Otherwise, you know, it is hard, I think, initially for people to just find you. But hopefully once they do, you know, I've had people buy the whole collection, as it were.
Well, that leads me pretty much into my last question. If people do want to find you, what's the username? What should they be looking for to find you?
Well, my main, you know, back to the original website, is lisaredford.com. But I've got all the sort of socials as well. I'm on Facebook as Lisa Redford Music, as well as Instagram as Lisa Redford Music, and YouTube channel is Lisa Redford Music, and then Twitter, which I'm quite active on because I'll talk about articles I've written or radio show I'm doing as well. It's just Lisa Redford. And then if you want to go to Bandcamp, it's lisaredford.bandcamp.com. And also SoundCloud as well is quite nice because it's got sort of, as well as tracks from the releases, I've got some sort of covers that I've done on there as well, and demos and remixes. So that's just soundcloud.com, Lisa Redford.
Awesome.
So I'm all over there.
Lisa, it's been great to have you on the show. And,
thank you so much.
Hopefully, as I say to everyone, we'll get you back on again sometime when they're on your next. Oh, is there another EP in the right? Are you writing another EP or any singles recently?
Well, I mean, I guess sort of plans have all changed really this year because spring, summer. I mean, who knows about summer? But obviously, with the situation, I'm not. I was meant to be gigging quite a lot, but I guess now with the situation that we're more at home and things like that, it's definitely use that time to be creative. So I'll definitely be always planning to release stuff and do stuff. But obviously at the moment, it's just kind of it's great to have that support of, guys like yourself, still showcasing the artists. That's great.
Well, Lisa, it's been great to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
We're going to play your track, I Just Can't Forget. And I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Carl. Thank you.